Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like someone vanished from your life as if you never mattered? One moment, they're there, and the next, it's like a door slammed shut, no explanations, no closure, just silence. It's gut-wrenching, isn't it? But let me tell you this, what you're feeling isn't just rejection. It's the aftermath of a deeper, unseen reality. Dismissive avoidants, those who seem so unbothered, so indifferent, are not immune to the pain of a breakup. Beneath their cool facade lies a storm they don't even know how to name. And today, we're not here to judge or point fingers. We're here to pull back the curtain, to understand what's really happening, and to figure out how we reclaim our own power in the process. This isn't just about theme, it's about you. It's about recognizing the patterns, breaking free from the blame game, and stepping into a space where you can heal, grow, and thrive. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels trying to figure them out and start focusing on what's next for you, then stay with me. Because today is the day we stop chasing shadows and start shining light on the truth. Fear is a powerful force, isn't it? It doesn't always show up as panic or tears. Sometimes, fear hides behind a mask of indifference. That's what drives dismissive avoidance, the fear of being known, of being vulnerable, of standing emotionally naked before another human being and wondering, am I enough? It's not apathy, it's armor. And here's the truth that most people miss. Their detachment is not a reflection of your worth. It's a defense against their own wounds, wounds they may not even realize they carry. Imagine this. A child grows up in an environment where love feels conditional, where showing emotions leads to rejection or ridicule, where independence becomes a survival strategy. That child learns to shut down, to turn inward, to build walls instead of bridges. And as they grow, that child doesn't outgrow those defenses, they perfect them. They become masters of control, not because they don't care, but because they're terrified of losing it. This fear manifests in relationships, especially when things get close. Love feels threatening, not because it's bad, but because it demands vulnerability. Vulnerability says, I trust you with the parts of me I don't show the world. But for the dismissive avoidant, trust feels like stepping onto a trapdoor. So, they distance themselves. They act aloof, unemotional, even cold. Not because they don't they feel more deeply than they let on, but because they've convinced themselves that emotions are dangerous. And here's the kicker. Their fear of intimacy isn't about you. It's about protecting themselves from pain they're too afraid to confront. Proverbs 4:23 tells us, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Dismissive avoidants take this to the extreme, guarding their hearts so tightly that nothing flows out and nothing flows in. They're locked in a prison of their own making, and the walls are reinforced with fear, shame, and self-doubt. But let me ask you this. How do you fight fear? How do you dismantle a wall built to keep you out? The answer isn't to push harder or break through. The answer is to understand that their behavior, while hurtful, is not about rejecting you. It's about rejecting the parts of themselves they're too afraid to face. That's why no amount of chasing, proving, or fixing will ever change their response. This is their battle, not yours to fight. If you're sitting here wondering why they can't just open up, remember this. The strength of their fear doesn't negate the strength of your worth. They are not your project to fix, nor your burden to carry. You cannot pour love into a heart that refuses to receive it. What you can do is step back and see them for who they are, a person shaped by their past, stuck in a cycle they don't know how to break. This isn't about excusing their actions. It's about freeing yourself from the belief that their fear is your failure. Their walls are not your limits. You are not diminished by their inability to show up fully. Recognize their fear for what it is, a reflection of their struggle, not a reflection of your value. And when you see it clearly, you'll realize that the only power you need is the power to walk forward, not waiting for them to follow, but trusting that you are enough, whether they come with you or not. Silence is deafening, isn't it? It leaves you spinning, searching for answers in a void where none are given. But here's what you need to know. Their silence after a breakup isn't about punishing you, and it's certainly not about forgetting you. That silence is their way of coping with a storm they refuse to face. It's about them, not you. And understanding this truth can set you free. When someone with a dismissive avoidant attachment shuts down after a breakup, they're not sitting there, plotting how to hurt you. No, they're doing what they've always done, retreating to their fortress of solitude, convinced it's the only safe place left. They believe distance is their salvation, that if they bury the emotions deep enough, they'll disappear. But emotions don't disappear, they fester. And that silence? It's the sound of a battle they're fighting within, a war between the heart that longs to feel and the mind that screams, stay safe. Let me take you to Ecclesiastes 3-7, which says, "There is a time to be silent and a time to speak." For the dismissive avoidant, silence isn't a season, it's a lifestyle. It's their shield against vulnerability, their weapon against the discomfort of acknowledging pain. But here's the paradox. Their silence is loud with meaning. It's a reflection of the fears they can't articulate, the wounds they won't admit, and the love they're too afraid to risk. Their withdrawal doesn't mean they don't care. It means caring feels too dangerous. To them, love is a double-edged sword. It promises connection but threatens loss. So when they pull away, it's not about erasing you. It's about protecting themselves. They silence the world not because they're heartless, but because they're scared of feeling too much. But where does that leave you? That's the question, isn't it? You can't fill the silence with your own voice. You can't chase them into a place they've locked from the inside. And let me tell you, your worth isn't diminished by their inability to speak. Your value isn't defined by their response or lack of it. This is their silence, their struggle, their story to navigate. And your job is not to break through their wall, but to honor your own need for clarity, for closure, for peace. Let's take a moment to think about Jesus in the wilderness. 40 days of silence, temptation, and solitude. He didn't fill the void with noise. He sat with it, wrestled with it, and emerged stronger. The silence of others, like the wilderness, is not for you to conquer. It's for them to confront. You are not responsible for the battles they won't fight, but you are responsible for how you respond. Do you wait, hoping the silence will break? Or do you stand tall and claim your power, even in the midst of their absence? Silence may feel like rejection, but it's often a reflection of their own rejection of themselves. And when you grasp this, when you truly understand that their behavior is about their pain, you're free to stop carrying it as your burden. You can honor their silence without letting it define your story. You are more than their inability to speak. You are worthy, whole, and enough even in the quiet. Emotions are not meant to be suppressed. They're meant to be felt, expressed, lived through. But for the dismissive avoidant, emotions are treated like a wildfire, dangerous, unpredictable, and best extinguished before they get out of control. The irony is that the more they try to suppress those feelings, the more powerful they become, raging just beneath the surface, creating a paradox of control and chaos. You see, dismissive avoidants pride themselves on independence. They've built their identity around being self-reliant, around not needing anyone. But here's the truth they won't tell you: emotional suppression doesn't eliminate the pain, it amplifies it. Suppressing emotions is like holding a beach ball underwater. You can push it down for a while, but eventually it bursts to the surface with a force you can't contain. And where does that leave them? Exhausted, trapped, stuck in a cycle where they feel disconnected from others and, worse, disconnected from themselves. Psalm 34-18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." But how can they allow healing if they won't even acknowledge the cracks in their heart? They've been crushed, but instead of seeking restoration, they've buried the pieces, thinking that's the only way to survive. But survival isn't thriving. Suppression isn't strength. True strength is found in facing the emotions they fear most: grief, sadness, vulnerability, even love. Yet, they've convinced themselves that feeling is a weakness, that needing someone makes them lesser. So, they cling to this false sense of control, believing that if they just stay distant enough, detached enough, they'll be safe. But safe from what? Safe from connection? Safe from the risk of joy? Safe from the full experience of being human? Think about this. When Jesus wept for Lazarus in John 11:35, he didn't suppress his grief. He embraced it. He showed us that feeling deeply is not a flaw, but a reflection of divine love. And yet, the dismissive avoidant denies themselves this grace. In trying to protect themselves from the pain of vulnerability, they deny themselves the beauty of it: truth, connection, the growth, the healing that comes when we allow ourselves to feel. For them, the paradox is this: the more they suppress, the less control they actually have. Their emotions don't disappear. They show up in other ways: irritability, stress, distance, even physical symptoms. Suppression becomes a prison, not a solution. And the worst part? They think they're free because they're not actively feeling the pain, but they're chained to it in ways they don't even see. This is where compassion comes in. You cannot force someone to confront what they've spent a lifetime avoiding. You can't make them feel what they're determined not to. But what you can do is recognize the paradox for what it is: a reflection of their fear, not a statement about your worth. Their suppression isn't your failure, and you are not responsible for their breakthrough. What you are responsible for is honoring your own emotions, living fully, and refusing to suppress your light in response to their darkness. Because their paradox doesn't have to become yours. Understanding someone else's behavior can feel like trying to solve a riddle with missing pieces. You look at their actions, their words or lack thereof, and you wonder what it all means. But here's the thing. Understanding a dismissive avoidance behavior isn't about excusing it. It's about freeing yourself from the blame you've been carrying. Because when you understand, you stop personalizing. And when you stop personalizing, you start healing. Dismissive avoidants didn't choose to be this way. Their behavior is a learned response, shaped by years of emotional conditioning. Somewhere along the way, they internalized the belief that closeness is dangerous and that independence is the only way to stay safe. It's not a decision, it's a reflex. And the reflex to pull away, to distance themselves, to shut you out, has nothing to do with your worth. Let me say that again. Their behavior is not about you. It's about the lens through which they see relationships, a lens shaped by fear, not love. Think about it this way. If someone were wearing dark glasses, everything they see would be shaded, dimmed, distorted. That's how dismissive avoidants view connection. They don't see the beauty of vulnerability. They see the risk of rejection. They don't see the joy of intimacy. They see the fear of losing themselves. And because of that, they act in ways that seem cold, distant, even cruel. But their actions are a reflection of their inner struggle, not a statement about your value. Romans 12:2 tells us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." For the dismissive avoidant, their pattern is emotional withdrawal, but transformation isn't something you can force upon them. Only they can choose to renew their mind, to confront the fears that keep them trapped. And until they do, you have a choice to make. Will you continue to seek understanding as a way to fix them? Or will you use that understanding to set yourself free? You see, understanding isn't the same as fixing. When you understand their behavior, you're not giving them a free pass. You're giving yourself the gift of clarity. You're recognizing that their silence, their withdrawal, their distance is about their inability to deal with their own emotions, not about your inadequacy. It's about their fear of vulnerability, not your failure to connect. It's about their struggle, not your shortcomings. When Jesus encountered people who were broken, he didn't force them to change. He didn't chase after those who walked away. He offered them love, understanding, and truth, and he let them choose their own path. That's your role here. To understand their behavior is to release yourself from the false narrative that their actions are a reflection of your worth. It's to acknowledge their humanity without sacrificing your own. It's to see them clearly and still choose to honor your needs, your boundaries, your peace. And here's the beauty of understanding. It allows you to let go not with bitterness, but with grace. Because when you truly see their struggle for what it is, you realize it's not yours to carry. And in that realization, you find the strength to move forward, not waiting for them to change, but walking boldly into the life you deserve. Your worth was never meant to be measured by someone else's ability to see it. Let that sink in for a moment. Too often, we tie our value to the way others treat us. If they show love, we feel worthy. If they pull away, we question everything. But here's the truth you need to hear today. Their inability to validate you doesn't diminish the truth of your value. You were enough before they entered your life, and you will remain enough long after they've gone. When someone with a dismissive avoidant attachment struggles to show love or offer validation, it's not because you lack something. It's because they are locked in their own struggle, unable to give what they've never learned to receive. You see, they've spent so much time believing that needing others makes them weak that they've forgotten the beauty of connection. And in their effort to stay strong, they rob themselves of the very thing they need most: intimacy. But that's their battle, not yours. The Bible says in Isaiah 43:1, "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." Your value comes from the one who created you, not from someone who struggles to see your worth. You were never meant to beg for love, to chase after approval, to twist yourself into knots hoping they'll finally validate what you already know deep down: you are deserving of love just as you are. Here's the thing. You cannot look to someone else to fill a hole they didn't create. The dismissive avoidant's inability to affirm you isn't a reflection of your lack. It's a reflection of their fear. And if you keep chasing after their validation, you'll lose sight of the truth. Your worth doesn't need to be earned. It simply is. You are enough, not because of what you do, not because of who loves you, but because you exist. Think about Jesus walking among the crowds. Did he seek validation from the Pharisees? Did he wait for approval from those who doubted him? Number. He stood firm in his mission, in his identity, in his purpose. And he calls us to do the same. To walk boldly in the knowledge that we are loved, chosen, and valuably, not because someone else says so, but because it's written into our very being. Reclaiming your worth means stepping away from the cycle of seeking validation from someone who isn't equipped to give it. It means recognizing that their struggle to love doesn't make you unlovable. It means standing tall even when their silence feels like rejection and declaring, "I am still enough." Your worth isn't tied to their words. It isn't tied to their actions. It isn't tied to their approval. It's tied to the unshakable truth that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And when you begin to live from that place of truth, you'll stop chasing after what was never yours to earn and start walking in the freedom that was always yours to claim. Healing is not waiting. Healing is movement. Healing is the courage to take one step forward, even when the weight of your heartbreak feels unbearable. Too often, we convince ourselves that if we just wait long enough, if we just hold on a little tighter, if we just stay in the same spot, they'll change, they'll come back, they'll finally give us the love we deserve. But healing doesn't happen in the waiting. It happens in the choosing yourself, choosing growth, choosing to move toward the life you were meant to live. When a dismissive avoidant walks away, or when their silence leaves you questioning everything, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you need closure from them. You don't. Closure isn't something they give you. Closure is something you create within yourself. It's the decision to stop looking backward, stop searching for explanations, and start embracing the truth that their inability to show up for you isn't about your worth, it's about their walls. The book of Isaiah reminds us, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" That new thing isn't waiting for them to change. It's waiting for you to choose transformation. It's waiting for you to step into the light of what's next, even when your heart feels shattered. Healing isn't about forgetting them. It's about remembering you. It's about finding your way back to yourself, piece by piece, choice by choice. But let's be real, moving forward isn't easy. Grief will try to hold you hostage. Doubts will creep in, whispering that maybe you should wait, maybe you weren't enough, maybe you could have done more. Those whispers are lies. They are the echoes of fear, not truth. And the way you silence them is by taking action, no matter how small, no matter how scared you feel. You don't wait for the fear to go away, you move through it. Think about Jesus calling Peter out onto the water. Peter didn't wait for the waves to calm down. He didn't wait until he felt steady or certain. He stepped out in faith, trembling, unsure, but willing. That's what healing requires, a willingness to step forward, even when the waters feel rough, even when you're afraid you'll sink. And just like Peter, when you take that step, you'll find that the strength to keep walking doesn't come from the calmness of the sea, it comes from the one who calls you forward. Healing is an act of defiance. It's standing up against the lies that tell you you're not enough. It's refusing to let their absence define your future. It's choosing to rebuild, even when the pieces feel scattered. And with every step, you get stronger. With every step, you reclaim your power. With every step, you remind yourself that your story isn't over, it's just beginning. You are not waiting for healing. You are creating it, moment by moment, step by step, breath by breath. Keep moving. The best is yet to come.